Difficulty's always been a weird thing in the Payday series. Payday 2 got the brunt end of some very questionable game design choices throughout the years. The existence of DSOD as a difficulty in codecs like Kingpin, Stowing, and Hacker should be evidence enough for that. Payday 3 has also sadly not been very different. The game launched being genuinely pretty challenging, but with the addition of the adaptive armor and fortitude, as well as general tweaks being made to certain skills and mechanics, the game's been made significantly easier. It's very understandable. If people are hardly playing the game, I can get some extreme actions having to be made to make it more appealing to your average Joe. However, the same cannot be said for what I think of the loud modifiers I've showcased in the latest blog update, and more specifically, and more bluntly, the haphazardly made shit fixes they're putting out to combat their own haphazardly made shit additions. With Starbreeze adding the adaptive armor and fortitude, and with it, setting the power creep to levels previously unthinkable, they've made these modifiers which will affect heist and loud, similar to the ones we already have in stealth. As to better help explain my point and criticisms of them, I'll quickly just go over all the modifiers and what they do. Hard bargain. Players can't leave custody without hostage trades. Getting a player out of custody costs 1 hostage, plus 1 additional hostage for each time they've been in custody or have killed a civilian. Buddy system. Up to 2 instances of each special can spawn, and the special cap is raised by 1. Armor piercing. 10% of damage law enforcement deals to armor is also applied to health. Alpha strike. Regular SWAT units are replaced with heavy SWAT. Reflector shields. Shields come equipped with a light that can blind players. Debilitating specials. Players disabled by zappers and cloakers, damaged by nader gas, or hit by shield and dozer melee attacks will lose any stack of edge, grit, and rush. My issue with these is that almost all of these modifiers are just very poorly designed, usually falling into the camp of that they will either hardly affect how the game's played, or push players into using options that already dominate the game's meta. Basically, modifiers that are meant to add extra difficulty don't actually add difficulty in most scenarios. Hard bargain will hardly ever be felt. We're at a point in the game's meta where going down is practically impossible, much less going into custody. I do like it. It's a good idea in isolation as it's similar to how custody worked in Payday the Heist and Payday 2, but it's just horrible in the big picture for Payday 3 at the moment. Buddy system is a decent idea on paper, but it completely crumbles once you think about it for more than a few seconds. As they currently stand, zappers and naders hardly ever use their tasers and grenades, so what's the point of them being more frequent? It's not like they'll actually do anything. Those are a joke to begin with because of the 2-shot body shots with the Het Fox, so it just makes it an even better pick, which is something I thought was genuinely impossible. Armor piercing reintroduces the war of attrition gameplay that everybody totally loved, and somehow in an even worse state than before. To begin with, you won't feel it at all if you're using adrenaline, as you don't take damage to armor, so fortitude ends up going untouched, incentivizing it even more on top of how much raw strength and survivability it already has. On armor it will be felt, but on the adaptive armor you can just work around it by bringing medic bags, as you can sustain your armor incredibly well without even having to use armor bags on it. So what this will actually end up doing is that it'll only really affect people who use the traditional armor types. You know, the armor types that nobody uses anymore because of how much more fun the adaptive armor and fortitude are. Good design. Punish players for running the thing nobody even uses anymore, giving people even less reason to use it. Alpha Strike makes the already good weapons in the game even better. Weapons like the SA and the VF are already used by everyone and their mother specifically because of their high armor penetration stat, letting them one-shot headshot both normal and heavy sorts with basically no setup. So all this modifier will end up doing is further incentivizing the usage of them. After all, it's miles more efficient to use a weapon like the SA or the VF if you're only going to be fighting the more tanky heavy SWATs. Really batting 1,000 with these modifiers, aren't they? Reflective shields would be more of a nuisance than an actual challenging addition. Yeah, they can blind you, but they'd be so easy to avoid as you can just kill them before they get the chance to, or you can simply just look away from them. Debilitating specials is cool, actually making special units more threatening as they can drop your buffs with their abilities. The concept is cool, but as I said earlier, special units use their abilities so infrequently that it just sort of begins to fall apart. Now, you might ask yourself, well, are the additions of the adaptive armor and fortitude unrelated to these loud modifiers? After all, it could be entirely plausible that these were planned at an earlier point in time and are only just being talked about now. Nope, not at all. They even flat out say in the blog post. Adding the fortitude skill line and adaptive armor made the game too easy. Thankfully there's a plan, and that plan starts with loud modifiers. Of course, the best solution is to start an arms race of enemies against players. Of course, I'm being sarcastic when I say that. If your skull actually protects something and isn't just for fashion, it should be fairly obvious that this is a very big game design no-no. Having to up the ante every update is a nightmare to balance, and given the game's already unstable foundation, it will only get worse as time goes on. I do have a genuine suggestion though as to what they should do going forwards, being that they should actually fucking fix the game. I know that's incredibly blunt, but it seems to be something that Starbreeze have forgotten about. Nobody really wants to play this game. No amount of quick fixes and shortcuts are going to fix the game being unfun. Payday 3 needs serious overhauls, and it needs them now. Instead of tackling the root causes, they decided to take the easy way out. After all, it's much easier to add something than to actually fix something. Of course, it's worth clarifying, I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of loud modifiers, but they should have made them something actually interesting. I don't know, hostage rescue teams spawn in more frequently in larger groups, point of no returns being re-added, shorter hostage negotiation times before the first assault starts, literally anything, I'm just spitballing here. Just not whatever these modifiers are meant to be, because as they stand, they achieve little to nothing in an actual challenge and only make the bad things in the game even worse and the good things in the game even better. I'm sure the people at Starbreeze are decent guys, but if I'm going to be completely honest, they do not have a single clue what they're doing. Watching the game go down this route is like watching a drunken man speed down a country road, in that they're going to hit something eventually, and when it happens, it's most certainly not going to be pretty. There are 1001 things that Payday 3 needs at the moment, and trying to start an arms race of enemies versus players is not what the game needs at this point. Far from it, in fact. If there's a silver lining to be taken from all this though, it's maybe appreciate Payday 2 a lot more. I used to hate the game's balance because it was pretty shit, but I mean at least it was fun. It seems like Payday 3 can't pick a lane though, unable to choose between being well balanced and fun because of it, or being poorly balanced yet still fun, and it's somehow decided to be poorly balanced and unfun, a combination I'm sure a grand total of 0 people want. I apologise for the more loose and ranty nature of this video, as it isn't usually what I post, and I really dislike being negative about Payday. Might be hard to believe, but I actually like this series, and I want it to be successful, and I do want it to be fun. When they keep making historical fumble after historical fumble though, I have no choice but to get annoyed about it. I've been with Payday for a decently long amount of time at this point, and seeing the game series I could go and play for hours just because of how fun the core gameplay was, go to being a game I can hardly touch now just because of how unfun it is to play, is genuinely sickening. That's just about it though. I could keep going on and on about it, but I'd just end up repeating myself, and that's something neither you nor I want. I'd like to hear what other people think about the game in its current state though. Are you optimistic about it, pessimistic, or do you just want to wake up back in September 2023 and find out this is all just a bad dream? Whatever it is you have to say about the game, I'd be interested in hearing it, so feel free to drop a comment below. Also, I've got a Discord server now, so if you want to talk shit about Payday 3, send memes, be kept up to date on whatever it is I'm working on, feel free to join. As usual though, I've been Cookie Dough, and have a good one.